No, that title is not clickbait. You need to, as a streamer and content creator, ban chatters if you want to grow. Active chatters at that. Sometimes the most active chatter in your entire stream needs to be banned. Many of you are making a massive mistake by not using that big, beautiful ban button. And for some of you, it is the reason why you aren't growing. Or for others, it might be the reason why you are miserable when you go live. Let's talk about that. Hey, I'm Eljay and I ban chatters very quickly, and I won't apologize for that, because the fact that I ban people and time people out so frequently is part of the reason why my chat is so active, engaged, and welcoming to new users, which I know it sounds like I should have nobody left. I get asked daily, in fact, I get asked dozens of times a day by new creators, new streamers about how to deal with viewers or chatters who break the rules, maybe cross lines, make them uncomfortable, or make jokes that you don't find funny. So I am going to cover why your hesitation to warn, time out, or ban someone could destroy your channel. In fact, after this video, you will probably, as a creator, be a lot more willing to use the ban button as well. But I will explain all of that in a second. First, something you should already be willing to use, our sponsor, Own.tv. I want to say thank you to our sponsor, Own.tv. You guys should know about Owned by now. They are a fantastic resource for literally any and all streamers. I want to highlight some of their packs that you probably haven't seen before, such as their pixel pack, and their overlays are not only modular so you can delete anything you don't use, but they also have static overlays that take up much less of your PC resources. And by freeing up those resources, you let your game and your stream run smoothly without any stuttering or frame drops. We have a link in the description, so if you go click that and check out what they've got, you might find your brand new stream overlay. Massive thank you to Own for supporting this channel as well. If you want to support me, guys, go and support them with the link in the description. It really helps us out. First, we have to talk about how every community on Twitch essentially has different rules and different boundaries that they think is okay. Everything you do as a streamer will impact the type of community you create. The jokes you make, the way you act, the way you treat others, these choices will attract similar types of people to view your content. For example, Animal Crossing streamers make choices for their branding overlays, and the type of content that they make will reflect what appeals to them and their audience. And the same can be said for Call of Duty streamers. They're different demographics. You'll set an example for what is okay and what isn't. And then slowly, as a community builds around your content and they start all being in chat together, that chat tends to reflect the streamer as a big cyber blob. And if you are sat there right now thinking to yourself, gosh, I really don't like my chatters, or I wish my chatters wouldn't do X, then you need to take a step back and look at your own content, because clearly it appeals to that type of person. On this topic, one of the most common complaints that I get is from new streamers saying that their content seems to get a lot of kids watching it. And I say to them, well, that means your content appeals to kids. If you don't want that to happen, you need to make a change. A chat reflects the streamer. That is a fact. When streamers step outside of that norm, it can cause whiplash for the community, or when a chatter steps outside, it can be weird and off-putting. And it is so important to take action, whether that is warning, a timeout, or a straight ban. Now, I know what you're thinking. Eljay, it's easy for you to say, if you ban someone, it's nothing to your 100, 150 viewers. But for me, it's half my audience. And you are so wrong. For small streamers, not taking action is detrimental to their growth. And I'll explain that in full in a second. First, I want to give an example of where each individual creator draws their line to help you find where you draw your line. Some communities are okay joking about serious events in history, being edgy and generally a bit dark. But personally, that isn't for me, and because I don't make those jokes, my chatters won't or shouldn't either. Some communities are sadly also okay with using words such as gay or words that describe others who have disabilities in negative ways. In fact, some of the largest creators on the platform do this. But that is never okay in my chat. And my community knows that, and they won't use those terms, and the people who use those terms aren't in my community. Normally, if your chat is reflecting you, then these issues won't happen with your regular community. A newer chatter might come in, and they will say or do something like this just once. The chatter is warned then by the mods. They either leave because the vibe isn't for them, or they realize they've read the room wrong and stick around, but don't make the same jokes. Or, much more likely, they try to argue, insult you, and then get banned, because that's a Twitch chatter. All of that is the first step that I want you to think about. Your community, your content, and what you want your chat to reflect. And then you need to also consider where you're going to draw the line in the types of jokes and conversations you allow. Once you have those things, it's important to understand that there are a lot of different ways that a chatter can step out of line, for example. There are the clear ways, such as breaking the rules that you have in your panels, like spamming, slurs, self-promo, all the normal ones. These are obviously met with appropriate warnings, timeouts, and bans, whatever you feel is the action you want to take in your community and works for you and your mods. Personally, spamming is a timeout, slurs are a ban, and self-promo is usually a ban as well for me, because anyone who self-promos is under the terms of service age to be on Twitch. But what happens when there are things that aren't directly rules being broken, but start to cross the line you've set, like edgy jokes or the words I mentioned earlier? Or maybe a viewer isn't breaking a rule, but is clearly not reading the room. For example, often chatters come into smaller streams like mine, but they're actually used to XQC or Ludwig. So they don't understand that posting random lines of 15 emotes over and over and over again is, well, spam. Because to them, it is normal behavior amongst 5,000 viewers compared to my 100 to 150 who are just trying to chat with me. These are much more difficult and the line is a lot more blurry. For example, something that smaller streamers get a lot that can cause a lot of trouble is when you have a viewer who keeps asking to DM you, play games with you, or add you as a friend. This happens a lot with smaller chats because every message tends to get read out because chat is slow. And by the way, small streamers, please close your direct messages and be very careful with this stuff. I give this advice to someone daily, it feels like at the moment. People just leave their DMs open and accept anything. You can't encourage a parasocial relationship just for the sake of growth. They are a viewer, you are an entertainer. Direct messaging is inappropriate and closing them is very important. I hear constantly that someone with 5 viewers had their DMs open and they received a massive message about how a viewer was depressed and in a bad way that just ruined them for a week. Or worse, they get sent a dick pic, which is just obviously uncomfortable, but that's what happens when your DMs are open. You can call me a dick all you want, but you are not a therapist, a savior, or anything else to these viewers. You are a content creator, and it is not appropriate for viewers to trauma dump on you. And if you are a content creator who encourages parasocial relationships or tells people your DMs are open to talk about their life troubles, then you need to realize how dangerous that is. Another good example is when a chatter simply makes you feel uncomfortable, or for lack of a better word, they're just being weird. What do you do in these situations where people just can't read the room, when they aren't breaking a direct rule, but instead they're just crossing a line that you have set? Well, you can warn them and ask them to stop. Sorry, mate, do you mind not spamming? Or, sorry, I don't add viewers as friends. And if they continue, well, you have to time them out. If they come back after the timeout and keep repeating the behavior that made you uncomfortable, well, then you have to escalate it. This escalation can either be a massive timeout or just a straight ban. I actually have a fantastic example for you. Take this chatter. They joined, said hi, engaged in chat for a bit, and then asked me for a 1v1 in COD while I was playing an indie game called 12 Minutes, which is a puzzle game, and it's nothing like COD. So I ignored the message. They then posted, "Why you sexy but not me?" Which is a really weird question and kind of uncomfortable because what am I supposed to say to that? So I ignored it. It isn't worth timing out and it isn't breaking any rules. It is just uncomfortable. And because my chat is fairly active, it scrolls away fairly quickly. But then they posted it again. So I just said, hey, I'd appreciate it if you didn't say stuff like that. It makes me feel uncomfortable. I drew my line and politely asked them to stop. They then said, GG's, I'm out. But I ignored them because I'm trying to make entertaining content and talk to chatters who want to actually watch that content. And they didn't actually leave, obviously, because nobody ever does when they say they're leaving. He didn't take his toys and go home like some little toddler. They added in, just for that reason, I'm out, which, again, I ignore. And I admit, at this point, I probably should have timed them out or banned them. But I didn't have mods active, and I was trying to focus on the game. And because I made this mistake of just letting it scroll past and not timing it out, it meant that he was able to go full nice guy mode. And that meant I had to ban him because he was being weird and making me uncomfortable. He clearly didn't understand the vibe of the stream. Now you're thinking, oh, it's okay. He's a complete random. It doesn't matter. He'd only been in the chat for the first time. No, he'd been watching me for about 8 or 9 months, since March of 2021, and he was a paying subscriber. Let me be clear here. You can see the messages on screen, and I didn't ban him because he insulted my mustache. I banned him because he was making my chat and myself uncomfortable. It is a massively common joke in my chat that my mustache has a giant gap in the middle. I joke about it all the time. It literally looks like two caterpillars trying to have a conversation while socially distancing. But the way he was acting made my other chatters uncomfortable and ruined the vibe. You can see the line I draw in this situation. The person crossed it, I politely warned them, and they continued. The thing is though, bans are reversible, so don't start freaking out about losing chatters. A chatter might go, oh shit, I was having a bad day, I am so sorry, and submit an unban request. So let's go ahead and look at the unban request he submitted. Well, the unban request is great as well because it actually lets me talk about something you guys need to understand. Viewers and chatters can speak their mind. They want to have the freedom to say whatever they want. Go nuts, they can do that. But as a streamer, don't worry, they have to also face the consequences. Streamers of all sizes, if you can take anything away from this video, let it be this. You can ban whoever the fuck you want from your chat, whether they are breaking a rule or not. It is your space. If they step out of line or ruin the vibe, get rid of them. Now, I know what you're gonna say, and I mentioned it earlier. Eljay, easy for you to say. Your chat is bigger. You have 150 viewers. Banning one person doesn't impact you like it impacts us. It hurts us much more to lose a viewer. Wrong. Just absolutely wrong. It is the opposite. It affects you so much worse to not warn or ban someone. A weird message for me disappears. I can ignore it and watch it fly away because my chat is fairly active. But for you, that weird message that ruins the vibe will sit there and stink up your chat. And it can be incredibly off-putting to your other potential chatters. But also, not removing weird messages sets an example of what is okay and what isn't. If you let people get away with something, others will think it's okay, and very quickly you will have a terrible, toxic community and you will hate streaming. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I banned Pokimane. This was a bit of a weird video, but I'm still very sick and I wanted to talk about banning people because it seems like small streamers refuse to ban anyone. If you want to learn more about streaming, I recommend clicking here. It's a really good video and I think it will really help you out specifically. John, who's watching this, click it, John. Click it. And also subscribe. I'll see you guys next week.